Morning, you guys. Corey here. Today we're going to go over Chapter 10, Mental Chemistry. Before we get started, I'm listening to Study Aid for Super Learning and Memory, Alpha Waves, Super Intelligence. Alpha Brainwaves. Hans Berger discovered alpha brainwaves in 1929 using an EEG machine. They were the first brainwaves ever detected, hence named after the first letter in the Greek alphabet, alpha. Alpha brainwaves have electrical frequencies between 8 to 13 Hz. They are generated in the thalamus, the brain within the brain. Alpha brainwaves are most present in a wakeful state that is characterized by a relaxed and effortless alertness. Alpha waves have been described variously as sublime, flying, floating, lightness, peace, and tranquility. Alpha brainwaves are not always present. If someone is in a deep sleep or in intense anger, there are almost no alpha brainwaves at all. Alpha brainwaves are important for creativity. Scientists have shown that highly creative people have different brainwaves from normal and non-creative people. In order to have a creative inspiration, your brain needs to be able to generate a big burst of alpha brainwaves. The brain of creative people can generate these big alpha brainwave bursts, and do so when they are faced with problems to solve. Normal and non-creative people do not produce alpha brainwaves. When increases, they are faced with problems, and so they cannot come up with creative ideas and solutions. Anytime you have an insight or an inspiration, you know your brain just produced more alpha waves than usual. Increased creativity is helpful for everyone. One way to increase creativity is to increase alpha brainwaves. Peak performance is another activity for which alpha brainwaves are helpful. Recently, sports scientists have shown that increases of alpha brainwaves precede peak performance. One key difference between novice and elite athletes is in their brainwaves. Just before their best free throws, an elite basketball player will produce a burst of alpha waves. Just before their best strokes, elite golfers will produce a burst of alpha waves. Just before their best shots, elite marksmen and archers will also produce a burst of alpha waves. Novice and intermediate athletes do not have these alpha wave bursts. However, one study of archers training over many weeks showed that as they improved their performance, they gradually increased the amount alpha bursts, which occurred just before their best shots. The alpha brainwaves seemed to be essential for peak performance and were increased, albeit slowly, by the archery trainer. Now that's pretty cool. So, now we can get started. Chapter 10, Medicine. Where truth abides. Truth is within ourselves. It takes no rise from outward things, whatever you may believe. There is an inmost center in us all, where truth abides in fullness, and around, wall upon wall, the gross flesh hems in it. This perfect clear conception, which is truth, a baffling and perverting carnal mesh blinds it, and makes all error, and, to know, rather consists in opening out a way whence the imprisoned slender may escape, than in effecting entry for a light supposed to be without. Robert Browning. The attitude of the practitioners of medicine towards mental chemistry has always been most Catholic. To quote from Dr. Osler, the physical method has always played an important, though largely unrecognized, part in therapeutics. It is from faith, which buoys up the spirits, sets the blood flowing more freely, and the nerves playing their parts without disturbance, and that large part of all cures arise. Despondency or lack of faith will often sink the stoutest constitution almost to death's door. Faith will enable a bread pill or a spoonful of clear water to do almost miracles of healing. When the best medicines have been given over in despair, the basis of the entire profession of medicine is faith in the doctor and his drugs and his methods. F. W. Clark has fitly summed up the relation of modern chemistry to progressive medicine. Medicine is embedded to chemistry for almost a new pharmacopoeia. 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 For not only have new medicines been created, but in place of old drugs, crude and bulky, the compact and more elegant active principles are now employed. Anesthetics such as ether, chloroform, and nitrous oxide, hypnotics like chloral, the remedies derived from coal tar, and alkaloids like quinine, morphine, and cocaine are a few of the contributions with which chemistry has enriched medical practice. Even antiseptic surgery depends upon chemical preparation for its success. On the other hand, Dr. Osler admits that we have not as yet made as many additions to the stock of panaceas as we might, but chemistry has done vast service for us, and will probably do far more. Aside from the discovery of new substances like cocaine, it has given us the active principle of calculable strength and purity. In place of crude drugs of varying strength at best, and of varying purity and age, and there is no reason why we may not have new specifics as sure, as far as important disease, as quinine. Our problem would be more simple, and the doctors, with their wide knowledge and splendid service, would have solved the problem long ago. It had been a purely physical one, but unfortunately is a mental problem long before it becomes a physical one. As we continue to exercise our capacity for response, we shall find it necessary to treat our thoughts and emotions if we are to establish health upon a firm base. To treat your thoughts and emotions. For instance, it is commonly recognized that worry or continued negative emotional excitement will disorganize digestion. When the digestion is normal, the feeling of hunger will stop. Will be inhibited when we have eaten as much as we need, nor will we hunger again until we actually require food. In such cases, our inhibiting center is working properly. But if we get dyspeptic, this inhibiting center has ceased to function, and we are hungry all the time, with the consequent tendency to overwork an already impaired digestive apparatus. Mankind is continually experiencing such small disturbances. They are strictly local and attract but small attention to the great center. They come and go, and properly so, without drawing from the organism as a whole much consideration. But if that disorder has grown out of the deep-rooted cause which cannot easily be removed, disease of a more serious nature will ensue. Under such circumstances, by reason of its seriousness and long continuance, the trouble involves all parts of the organism and may threaten its very life. When it reaches this point, if the administration at the grand center is vigorous and determined and wise, the disturbance cannot long endure. But if there is weakness at the center, the whole federation may go down with a crash. Dr. Lindlar says that nature-cure philosophy presents a rational concept of evil, its cause and purpose, namely, that it is brought on by violation of natural laws. It is corrective in its purpose, that it can be overcome only by compliance with the law. There is no suffering, disease, or evil of any kind anywhere unless the law has been transgressed somewhere by someone. Transgressed, crossed. Let's put ourselves in connection with the law. Let's flow with it. Only then can we find true happiness, and only then can things work in our favor. Because if you don't comply with the law, like begets like, karma, you get what you give. You get back to what you give into it. If you're putting out things that aren't good, surely you will return. Things will return to you that are not good, in ways and forms that neither you and I know about. They just happen. I'm sorry, I need to find where I am again. In our study of the cause and character of disease, we must endeavor to begin at the beginning, and that is life itself. For the process of health, disease, and cure are manifestations of that which we call life and vitality. There are two prevalent but widely different conceptions of the nature of life or vital force, the material and the vital. The former looks upon life or vital force with all its physical, mental, and physical phenomena as manifestations of the electric, magnetic, and chemical activities of the physical, material elements composing the human organism. From this viewpoint, life is a sort of spontaneous combustion, or as one scientist expressed it, a succession of fermentations. This materialistic conception of life, however, has already become obsolete among the more advanced biologists as a result of the discoveries of modern science, which are fast bridging the chasm between the material and the spiritual realms of being. The vital conception of life or vital force, on the other hand, regards it as the primary force of all forces, coming from the central source of all power. And this vital conception of life is talking about the energy behind all of life, that is giving life. This force, which permeates, warms, and animates the entire created universe, is an expression of the divine will, the logos, the word of the great creative intelligence. It is this divine energy which sets in motion the whirls in the ether, the electric corpuscles and ions that make up the different atoms and elements of matter. These corpuscles and ions are positive and negative forms of electricity. Electricity is a form of energy. It is intelligent energy, otherwise it could not move with the unvarying wonderful precision in the electrons of the atoms, as in the suns and planets of the sidereal universe. If this supreme intelligence should withdraw its energy, the electrical charges, forms of energy, and with it the atoms, elements, and the entire material universe, would disappear in the flash of a moment. From this it appears that crude matter, instead of being the source of life, and of all its complicated mental and spiritual phenomena, is only an expression of the life force, itself a manifestation of the great creative intelligence, which some call God, other nature, the Oversoul, Brahma, Prana, etc., each one according to his understanding. Wow. Let me read those two again to you. If this supreme intelligence should withdraw its energy, the electrical charges, forms of energy, and with the atoms, elements, and the entire material universe would disappear in the flash of a moment. It is this energy, this electromagnetic plasma, is what creates and gives form and shape to everything in existence. From this it appears that crude matter, instead of being the source of life and of all its complicated mental and spiritual phenomena, is only an expression of the life force. The real world is the world within, the world inside of you, your subconscious. Because from the world within creates everything in the world without, for it appears that crude matter, instead of being the source of life, and of all its complicated mental and spiritual phenomena, is only an expression of the life force. So all things material is only an expression of this energy internally within you. You have your own energy centers, and they are your chakra points. They are your centers for creation. It is the supreme power and intelligence, action in and through every atom, molecule, and cell in the human body, which is the true healer, this medicatrix naturae, which always endeavors to repair, to heal, and to restore the perfect type. All that the physician can do is to remove obstructions and to establish normal conditions within and about the patient, so that the power within can do its work to the best advantage. In the final analysis, all things in nature, from a fleeting thought or emotion to the hardest piece of diamond or platinum, are modes of motion and vibration. A few years ago, physical science assumed that an atom was the smallest imaginable part of a given element of matter, that although infinitesimally small, it still represents solid matter. Now, in the light of better evidence, we have good reason to believe that there is no such thing as solid matter, that every atom is made up of charges of negative and positive electricity, acting in and upon the omnipresent ether. That is the difference between an atom of iron and of hydrogen, and any other element, consists solely in the number of electrical charges or corpuscles it contains, and on the velocity with which these vibrate around one another. So they're vibrating, they're giving off certain vibrations. Your eyes, they pick up certain vibrations, that is how you see. Your ears, they pick up on vibrations, that is how you hear. It is the mind that hears these vibrations. It is the mind that registers it from the physical part of your brain. Thus the atom, which was thought to be the ultimate particle of solid matter, is found to be a little universe in itself, which with the corpuscles of electricity rotate or vibrate around one another like the suns and planets in the sidereal universe. This explains what we mean when we say life and matter are vibratory. What we call inanimate nature is beautiful and orderly because it plays in tune with the score of the symphony of life. Man alone can play out of tune. This is his privilege, or his curse, as he chooses, by virtue of his freedom and choice and action. We can now better understand the definitions of health and of disease given in the Catechism of Nature Cure as follows. Health is normal and harmonious vibration of the elements and forces composing the human entity on the physical, mental, moral, and spiritual planes of being, in conformity with the constructive principle of nature applied to individual life. Let's grow! Health is normal and harmonious vibrations of the elements and health and force composing the human entity on the physical, mental, moral, and spiritual planes of being. Let's grow in every direction possible. Disease is abnormal and inharmonious vibrations of the elements and forces composing the human entity on one or more planes of being, in conformity with the destructive principle of nature applied to individual life. The question naturally arising here is, normal or abnormal vibration with what? The answer is that the vibratory conditions of the organism must be in harmony with nature's established harmonic relations with the physical, mental, moral, spiritual, and psychical realms of human life and action. That is the end of chapter 10. Now that was cool. If you made it this far, are you starting to see now how important this stuff really is? If you have, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.